How's your boy?
Thank you for asking.
Is there anything we can do?
Thanks for asking is enough.
So what are your plans?
Is this about buying out my tracks here?
Yes.
The cable was about my Coyote Hills lease.
We'd like that too.
What's your offer on Coyote Hills?
We'll offer $150,000 for full title.
That's a deal. What's next?
We'll make you a millionaire while you're sitting here from one minute to the next.
What else would I do with myself?
Are you asking me?
What else would I do with myself?
Take care of your son. I don't know what you would do. You've got an ocean of oil under your feet with nowhere to go. Why not turn it over to us? We'll make you rich. You spend time with your boy.
You just tell me how to run my family.
Might be more important now that you've proven the field and we're offering to buy you out.
One night I'm gonna come to you inside of your house, wherever you're sleeping, and I'm gonna cut your throat.
What are you talking about? Have you gone crazy, Daniel? I heard what you said. What did you say?
Don't tell me about my son.
Why are you acting insane and threatening to cut my throat?
Don't tell me about my son.
I'm not telling you anything. I'm asking you to be reasonable. If I've offended you, I apologize.
We'll see what I can do.
This is the Blood and Black Rum Podcast.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Blood and Black Rum Podcast. I'm Ryan from ColdSploitation.com, and I'm joined with my co-host Martin.
How's it going?
Pretty good. We're actually back for a second week in a row. Don't normally do that when it's off season, but it was important, especially because we wanted to keep with the dry January themes as well, right? Because you're finishing up dry January right now. Today's the end of the dry January season. You like that? I think I sent you that one video where the guy was like, "Well, I'm doing dry January, but whenever something comes up like a party or something, like I can borrow days.
Just backdate it.
Just backdate it. It's fine. It's cool. Which I do. I like the idea. I could use that myself, and then I'll catch them in the rest of the 365. No problem. Just spread them out.
Don't worry. This one's bad. I thought you were doing dry January. Don't worry. I'm borrowing for March. It's actually a good idea,
Yeah.
But there's too much math involved with that, trying to figure
you know
out.
what? I think I'll borrow out into July. Then there's going to be a day in July that I'm not going to be participating in drinking.
Oh wait, it's the nation's birthday. Gotta drink all night.
That's right.
I'll listen to that luscious.
I pour mine out right
listen
now.
to that nice luscious pour.
That's right. Yeah, so we knew what we wanted to do for this episode, whereas sometimes we don't, and we don't plan it out, or we just kind of figure it out. But we kind of wanted to move into a movie that would be sort of similar in style to a Western, and yet, as you mentioned before we got on there, an anti-Western. One that technically signals the end of the Wild West and moving into more a more civilized time frame, structured, and the rise of the railroads, the rise of industrialization, and the rise of oil. And this is a movie that's kind of interesting for me because when it came out, there was a lot of talk about it. It obviously was nominated for Oscars, and I've never been a big follower of movies that are coming out that year and like Oscar bait and things like that.
What do you mean you weren't lining up to see the King's Speech?
Well, to be honest with you, that's not just the King's Speech, but every year, I feel like there's maybe like one Oscar nominated movie that I've actually seen that year. It's just like the rest of them just flew right on by me. Like I don't, for whatever reason, I just miss out on it. And the same was true back in 2007. It's kind of sad saying that now because I literally double the age of in 2007 when I was 17 years old. And we were seniors in high school when this movie came out. But back in 2007, I did not experience this movie, and it took me 17 years to actually finally see it. Versus you, did you see it at that time, where you were in on the craze, the pop culture references?
Yeah, I saw it like the year later. I didn't see it in theaters, but I saw it in first year in college. Caught it. It's the same thing with the other film that was also in like that ended up winning Best Picture that year, No Country for Old Men. I also saw that too. And like, what was one of the first films to watch in college? Because it's like, oh, I'm in college. I got a lot of downtime now, and unlimited streaming. Bootlegging of stuff. Well, what can I do?
Might as well check out some stuff. And to be fair, that's the same thing that I did with my first year in college. I watched a whole lot of shit and started my website and just started doing that day after day after day. So yeah, it's how
I got back into anime during college. It's like I got downtime between classes.
It was a good time to experience stuff. Yeah. But we're talking about
Juno.
2007. Yeah, Juno. No, we're talking about 2007's There Will Be Blood, which is based on the Upton Sinclair book, Oil.
Not Oil.
Oil!
Because there is an exclamation point.
It's really pronunciated there. Which by the way, I've never read. Being a literary, English lit major, never read it. Wasn't something included in the syllabuses, so I didn't end up reading that one. But I would like to. I've never read an Upton Sinclair novel.
He's got like 100 of them.
Yeah, never read any of them. So, kind of same thing with like Rudyard Kipling too. Like, missed out on some of the biggies.
I think that's something that they could try to cram into the curriculum. Like a historical lit, not like, at like the high school level.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, I think that'd be something cool if they started doing. It'd be hard. You couldn't do it really in English or history because, you got too much to cram in. But I think like as like an elective, like, hey, you want to like get like, more, details on these certain topics. We're going to read these books throughout,
mm-hmm.
however long the course is.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. I think that too much of the time, there's not a lot of time spent on some of the classics that should be read or focused on, and a lot of other time spent reading stuff like I Am the Cheese. I'm not saying that's...
How dare you?
I'm not saying it's a bad book, but by any means, it's been a while since I've read it. But I am just saying that I did feel like, at least from my perspective, I didn't read a lot of classics that I probably should have. I've still never read some of the classics like Don Quixote. Never read. Just and there's a lot of classics. So somebody's idea of a classic is not always everybody else's, but there are some gaps from what I've read that I think should be filled.
Well, that's why, like in 11th grade for us, like that was like the year I probably read the most actual books because I usually was dreadfully bored by a lot of the book choices. Mm-hmm. 11th grade, we did get a lot of historical licks. We got like All But My Life, the Holocaust story. We got to read All Quiet on the Western Front, which is also one of my favorite books of all time. Huck Finn. Huck Finn we got to read. So like that, we got
American classics, yeah.
Caesar, so another like release for Shakespeare that year. We got something,
Yeah.
So,
but back to
tangent, little curriculum talk there.
That's right. Back to There Will Be Blood, though. I don't know why I never ended up actually watching it. I even had a roommate in college who was a huge Daniel Day-Lewis fan who basically espoused his love of Daniel Day-Lewis in pretty much every film he was in. He'd seen everything. And, obviously at that time, There Will Be Blood was a big part of that as well, because it had come when I was in college, probably had been out for 2 years when I eventually met this guy. But I don't know why I never really caught it. For whatever reason, it just avoided my radar. But here we are 17 years later, reconciling that. And I'm glad I saw it. Glad I've finally gotten to experience the pop culture references that I didn't know about till now. So, I mean, as a historical film, this one's right up your alley, right?
Yeah, it hits all the things I like.
It's got, it's got history. It's got,
Daniel Day-Lewis, which I love. He does a great job. Always. Nice Western setting.
And is American style history one of your favorites?
Yeah, that's what
it's like a specialty of yours.
Yeah, that's what I specialized in for my college degree was American history for teaching. Mm-hmm. So yeah. And also too, one of my favorite periods to kind of study about and talk about is, Reconstruction America and then the Gilded Age afterwards. So
oil barons, robber barons.
Yeah. So
industrialization of previously country living, which I think we get to see quite a lot of in There Would Be Blood. The changeover between where these people are living in and, the West versus what the goal is to kind of muddy and cloud the landscape a bit, and how they react to that. It's all kind of part of that experience. And then also you kind of like get this silver and gold dip there too, because at the beginning of the movie, it starts out like in the late 1890s, silver and gold,
silver rushes of New Mexico.
Yeah. So you kind of get a little of that too. It's kind of got all of it. So nice. All right, before we get into the movies, there's a lot to talk about. Let's take a break. Let's talk about the beer that we have on the show today, because today we've also struck oil, but we've struck it in a different manner. This is the oil of Ireland that we're talking about. We're talking about Guinness's new 0% non-alcoholic stout. Which I think is fairly new, right? I've been seeing ads for it fairly recently, as though it's just come out. I don't recall it being out previously.
Yeah, I think it's pretty new. So they're hopping on the train.
That's right. We're right there with them on the bandwagon here for Dry January. So I've been seeing this one, and I've been wanting to do this one, and you were able to grab it the other like last week.
Mm-hmm.
And this one is basically formulated exactly like a regular Guinness. Even has a nitro widget in it that the normal Guinness cans have. So, it's meant to basically be a nice swap out from your normal Guinness. So I'll let you go first. What do you think about this Guinness 0% with at least 0.5% alcohol in it?
I know the zero on it's very misleading. It's just it makes you think it is like, oh, it's one of those NAs that's 0%, like Heineken 0, because Heineken 0 is 0%.
Mm-hmm.
So,
that's the thing too. Yeah, you do need to be careful with some of that, especially people who are like pregnant, because I remember when my wife is pregnant and we truly were looking for some 0%ers, ones that had 0% alcohol in them, and you got to be careful. All of them that say, yeah, we're non-alcoholic, yeah, 0%. They still got a little bit of alcohol, and Guinness is one of them. It's a misnomer there.
Yeah, it has the giant 0 in blue, and then underneath it, non-alcoholic draft, and then underneath that contains less than 0.5% by volume.
Yeah.
But well, so I don't drink Guinness that much anymore. I did used to drink it quite a bit, like right out of college, because it is when you start the craft beer train, it's one of those things that, like, it's like your first dark beer that you have after drinking some natty lights, and you're like, I'm a refined man now. I have Guinness. It's the dark, heavy beer.
Mm-hmm. I definitely relate to that.
And And then you drink it and you're like, this is heavy. Mm-hmm. And then like you start drinking more and more stuff, you're drinking, you're like, this thing isn't heavy at all. It's 4% alcohol. It's light. It does have the chocolatey, biscuity, notes of a stout, but it is very light, easy to drink, kind of a little bit watery mouthfeel because of the nitro widget and stuff. But it is what it is. Like, it's Guinness. So this is what it is. And I've accepted that. And because of that kindred spirit, ship on my craft beer journey, it's kind of like the same thing with like anything with Sam's or Saranac that they release that's new, even if it's stupid. I still have to run out and try it to be like, oh, is this any good? And Guinness used to do that quite a bit, because if you listen to our early episodes, there's a lot of stupid shit like the Baltimore Blonde and the IPA. And you remember the IPA?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and the like black lager. So they still do that. But it's been a while since I've had like a regular Guinness. However, after drinking this 0% non-alcoholic 0.5% Guinness beer, it's very similar to a Guinness. In fact, I think this is probably one of the better NAs that I've ever had, because it is very similar to Guinness. It's, chocolatey, it's biscuity. It's got watery mouthfeel. It has the nitro widget. It's nice, it's light, it's easy drinking, yet you still get those dark notes to it. It's really, for an NA and like for Guinness, it's darn good, because it's pretty similar to what a Guinness draft is like. So I like it quite a bit. I wouldn't go out of my way to get it, because again, if you might as well just get a regular Guinness and drink the 4% alcohol in it. But no, this is pretty darn good. I like it quite a bit. It's very it's been like 2 years since I've had like a Guinness draft, but it's, tastes the same to me.
Yeah, I mean, like you, I also kind of, it was like a gateway beer for me. So I remember distinctly like going out to a restaurant and being like, I'm so excited to get Guinness on draft. So
sitting there, rubbing your hands as you're waiting for your 2 for $20 at Applebee's, like, oh, I can't wait.
Yeah, getting Guinness on draft. Yeah, I definitely remember things like that, like it being a gateway beer, and thinking, yeah, this is it's a really, I like it. It's nice and dark, and a lot of people think like, dark beer's got to be bitter and like coffee, right? And it's not necessarily like that. And Guinness is like that. Guinness is like, it's dark, sure. It's got that nice malt flavor to it, nice chocolate flavors to it. But it's not like dark. It's not like having like, blackened chocolate or anything like that. It's it's very light, refreshing to drink. And it's got, a fairly thin body to it for the most part, which means that you could drink more of it. And, that's not always a bad thing, for sure. It's kind of like, especially Americanized version of Guinness is one that is kind of meant to be palatable and easy to drink. So it's not always a bad thing. And it is good to have it at during certain occasions. And of course, you're not always in the mood to be pounding a 12% stout either. So there's a reason why Guinness does, make itself nice and refreshing for those drinkers. So I'm not saying anything too negative about Guinness. And I do still enjoy it from, now and then. And so this Guinness Zero was something that I thought was interesting, and trying it now, like right away, first part, when I first had it, I was like, this is pretty thin. It's kind of watery. It does have that approximation of the malt character that Guinness has, and a nice chocolatiness to it, but it was kind of missing some of that flavor. It's definitely very thin. But the more I drink it, the more I kind of get warmed up to it. It definitely tastes like you're basically drinking a Guinness. And I think that's kind of the best thing about this, is that it really is a good substitute for Guinness. Like, you swap them out, you really wouldn't know that much of a difference. Maybe a little bit thinner on this side. And, it'd be kind of interesting to taste them side by side and see exactly how the mouthfeel matches up, but I would say that this is a very, very good substitute for regular Guinness. And if you're looking to have, all the Guinness with mostly no alcohol, this is a great offering for you. I think that it really does a good job of approximating that. Whereas like what we said with the other IPA that we had, that is kind of like an IPA, but you could definitely tell that it's not quite there. This Guinness is like basically like a normal alcoholic Guinness. There's really not too much difference. I think that's a really good idea to have around, especially if you're looking for the Guinness flavors, but you don't want all that alcohol. I think it's, really solid in terms of a non-alcoholic beer, getting to the heart of what makes Guinness taste the way it does. So really interesting. I would get it again if I was, doing a non-alcohol thing. How much was it? Just curious in terms of if you were comparing it to a regular Guinness.
It was the same as Guinness. It was like $11 for a 4-pack.
Basically the same as Guinness. So,
and I got that at Walmart too. So
cool. Well, I mean, I definitely would. If you're looking for a non-alcoholic beer, I would give this a recommendation. Check it out. See what you think. I definitely could see this substituting for a regular Guinness. All right, back to There Will Be Blood. Just before we get into the movie itself, what do you think of the title, There Will Be Blood?
Well, there is blood.
I will say that I think like at the time when this movie released, There Will Be Blood really sounded like it was going to be another torture porn like Saw movie. Because Saw always had those kinds of taglines like there will be blood. So it was kind of like an inopportune time to have a movie named.
It is a better name than Oil, because that would make you think, especially with the Iraq War going on, like, oh great, it's gonna be just some assholes down in Iraq looking for oil.
Yeah. And to be honest with you, like I said, I've never read Oil, but I believe that There Will Be Blood is only like rudimentarily based on oil. Like the idea is kind of based on oil. Like the opening parts loosely are based on oil.
It's loosely based on.
But Paul Thomas Anderson's script really kind of from there takes it in a much different direction than the rest of the book is what I've seen.
The movie could have been called Family Man.
I think there was already a Nicolas Cage movie by that name at the time.
Yes, there was.
So I don't think that would fly either.
That's also a Nick Cage movie that I've seen like enough times. That and The Weatherman.
The Weatherman, yeah. Wow, so that's another good one to do for the show at some point, The Weatherman. I always really liked that movie. It's been a really long time since I've seen that one too.
But yeah, There Will Be Blood. It's a good title, and I love the movie poster for this. It's just Daniel Day-Lewis in his suit and his hat with a nice menacing look, and I love that tan sandy color hat he wears. Just looks great on him,
and you know what you're getting into,
and he looks great with that mustache too. With how much of a thespian and character actor Daniel Day-Lewis is, he went into time back to 1898 and sat around with a bunch of people. He's like, "No, I'm an Irishman from the future, and I'm here to learn your ways. Teach me the ways of being a prospector of this time." But he came back this man.
Well, rumor has it that the film took so long to make because Daniel Day-Lewis, went through a variety of different products trying to get that luscious, thick mustache in, and eventually settled on Miracle Grow. That was the turning point.
It's men like that sport such a thick and wonderful mustache. I ask God every night, what did I do not to be able to have that?
I know.
Why is my mustache more serial killery than oil tycoon?
I have a pretty nice mustache, I will admit. Like I personally feel like my mustache is nice, but it's definitely not as thick and hearty, and steak like as Daniel Day-Lewis is mine. You know,
we have mustaches. They're not London broils, but you know they're like a ribeye or like a chuck roast.
I was gonna say
a nice.
Mine's more like a lanky lamb chop than a regular nice porterhouse.
Got a nice flat. We got flat iron cuts for mustaches. He has himself a nice, filet mignon.
Yeah. Or if you'd prefer, it's pan seared to a nice grilled cut. So, yeah, I mean, like, I will say, like, when this movie opens up and you first see, the nice 20 minutes of Daniel Day-Lewis, as a younger man and the prospecting for silver and gold, and then eventually finding it and becoming, the man who's going to start digging for oil. You get to see this ruggedness to Daniel Day-Lewis that is just kind of like, it makes you jealous. It makes me jealous, see him in his nice little, underalls digging, into shit, basically. It's like, wow, I could only wish to be so rugged.
Falls down, breaks his leg while discovering the silver in that opening 15 minutes, drags himself out of that fucking hole and off to camp. And so he can get it, prospected. And
it's not just any fall either. It's like a fucking 15-foot fall.
Yeah.
Through a shaft, basically, that he's dug out. And, it's great too, because that opening scene does really make you feel all kinds of anxious. First of all, you're underground. You've got him falling down, and then when you do see him eventually wake up, he's like, like can't catch his breath. Yeah. It's a very anxious scene that works very well.
And the only dialogue from that first 15 minutes is him when he falls and he says no like twice.
Mm-hmm.
And it's great, but it's so well paced and so kind of like the film's so atmospheric and sets up what's going to happen in the film so brilliantly. It's just great. It's just like if you're not enthralled by the first 15 minutes of this film,
you might as well turn it off.
It's probably not going to be for you. Like, I mean, like you don't even notice like how well methodically, like well paced, and like how the beats and everything kind of plays out and how it's shot. And it's just great. Like, that, like, to me, every time, and like I said, this is probably like the 10th time I've seen this film. Like, that to me, still to this day, is still something that's like really impactful and great about this movie. It's just like as I'm watching it, it's just like, God, this is a good movie.
Yeah, it's captivating. It really is. It's the way that it's shot. It's the score. Because the score itself, especially at the beginning, and you're not really, at the beginning of any movie, you're kind of like, I'm not really sure how this movie's going to be. Is it going to be darker? Is it going to be like lighter in tone? Well, the opening really sets it up for you because it's dark. You get that nice orchestral score of very menacing, strings, like showcasing, like, this is probably not going to be like a happy ending movie. When you're already getting, even before they've started to dig for oil, you're already getting these very menacing strings happening. That it's not going to be like this happy-go-lucky movie. When you kind of compare it to like some of the earlier Western movies that would have had like some nice jaunty music overlaid over, definitely gives a different vibe for this movie. But yeah, expertly shot, expertly paced at the beginning of the movie. The fact that it has no dialogue is really like it's pretty much lost on you. Like, you don't even, it's not necessary, not needed. You don't notice really until after you think about it and you're like, that didn't have any dialogue. You don't notice that it's occurring.
And not only that too, when you go into the first, after the 15 minutes and you see, Dale Day-Lewis and his son, which we see through that first 15 minutes, his son, he's adopted because one of his co-work, people that he was partners with as he's, building an oil, discovering oil, gets killed by wood off the derrick breaking and slamming into his head.
fucking traumatic experience of basically, and he's in there too. So, because that's one of the big things about There Will Be Blood, and something that you're kind of like constantly or physically reminded of with Daniel Day-Lewis as the character playing the character, is that he was, in his search for oil, he was physically there. And he brings that up a lot. It's like, he's not just like a surveyor who comes in and says, yeah, there's oil there to like dig. He's been there. He's done it. He's done the digging. And that whole opening sequence shows, the depths that he will plumb. It's a pun, but also quite literally what he will do to become this oil tycoon. He does it. He's the one that does it himself. And so you see that like traumatic experience of him in the pit with the other guy. Other guy gets fucking
railroaded.
Yeah, it's just slammed with a nice Foley thud, where you don't really, you don't see the brutality of it, but you see Daniel Day-Lewis's reaction of like, holy fuck, it's great.
Yeah. And he adopts the man's son as his own, and he's his business partner, and we see them come into the area, and Daniel Day-Lewis gives an amazing speech,
rousing,
very rousing, about how he's come to town, and because this town has found oil. How I'm a family, and not just a family man. This is my son HW, and he's my business partner. And I'm here. We all know you have oil. And I am an oil man myself. I've traveled halfway across this great state to be here. And I have plenty of wells already up and running. And now I can get you a well up and running in 10 days if you allow me to take part in it. Other men won't know what to do. They're not down there like I am. And now I make a good promise. And it's just like, again, he's so captivating, and like, his huckstering that he's doing, his sales pitch comes across as much more genuine and authentic than like what we'll see in others. Like, of how, like, if you probably were sitting on that land, you'd probably be like, yeah, you might as well sell it to him. Cause I mean, what are we going to fucking do with oil?
Mm-hmm.
We had,
yeah. Yeah. I mean, they set it up. He's a good business. He's a good businessman. He has great speeches. And, to a certain extent, that is why he is successful in his endeavors, because he's able to kind of rouse a group of people who want to work with him, even though, as we will see, they're prone to accidents, right? Like, oil drilling itself especially at this time, is a very dangerous profession. Lots of mistakes, it's not machine driven by any means. So, but he's able to maintain his crew.
What's also great too about that first speech too, because it's not the town that he ends up settling on, because he ends up going to Little Boston after he meets Paul Sunday. But with that speech, it was at the town hall, and they're all like, people are yelling and trying to discuss what to do, and it's just great because in the one part, one guy's yelling like, "Keep that woman quiet!"
Yeah,
like. And then, like, as they're arguing, he just goes, "You know what?" And he leaves. And they're like, "Wait, Mr. Plainview." He's like, "No." I changed my mind. I don't want it. In fact, I don't need it. You couldn't sell this to me even if I wanted it. And he just walks off as you see, oil, spilling from where, it was struck. It's pretty damn cool, to see that. And he's just like, yep. And he moves off.
And not only that, but like, that is again what I was talking about, where you kind of see like his stooped, hunched figure, where he's kind of like got a limp of seeing like, this guy's been literally digging, and it's physically taken its toll on him already. He's not a very old man at this point, and it's already taken this toll on him. So you kind of like get that nice development of his character without it actually having to be said. And I think that's kind of a big thing in There Will Be Blood, is that you do get a lot of development of his character without really being told a lot about it. There's not really a backstory to Daniel as a person besides us seeing him like strike the silver. You don't really see like motivations in terms of like, well, why is he so driven to be an oil tycoon? Why does he want to be this man with the money? You kind of get that later on as we start to hear, he's a competitive man. He has it in his heart that he's competitive and that he wants to win and succeed. But you're not really ever given a very like in-depth portrayal of like, this is him, this is who he is, this is what led him to this life. It's really all kind of left as a mystery, and you kind of just piece it together throughout as how he reacts to situations and what he ends up doing, which I like a lot. Like, it doesn't really treat its viewer as like they need an explanation. It just kind of goes about its business, and you start to pick up those little pieces as you go along. I'll be honest with you, when we first saw Paul and then saw Eli, I thought Eli was just being like faking his name. I was just like
winking, like
yeah,
wink,
like, yeah, like at first, because I was just kind of like, oh, he just gave him a fake name, right? But no, Paul is like the bad brother. He's the bad twin. The one who's basically smart enough to go to Daniel and say, hey, I've got some land here and I'm going to fucking sell off my family, and I'll be out of your hair.
I do love too when like they're having their talk and he's like, give me $500. Like, well, tell me what you know. And he's like, no, it's I'll give you $100. And if you're right, I'll give you this. And he's like, no, I want $600. And then, when he tells Daniel what he wants to know, Daniel's like, all right, here's the money. He goes, now, if you lied to me, I will find you and I will get my money back.
Yeah, he's like, I'll be taking more than money. I'll be taking more than my money.
And it's, great because it's very, menacing, because it's showing that, that other side of Daniel. Because again, up until that point, all we have seen, is the image that he's trying to portray as, family man and, businessman and you can trust. And here you're seeing like that ruthlessness to him, like,
the element
like if you fuck me over, it's gonna be more than the money I'm coming for.
Yeah, the element of the undertone of what he's saying that starts to keep coming out, and as the film goes on, more and more of that undertone becomes more of an overtone. It's really great because it starts out very nonchalant. He's as the audience we get as a family man, and then eventually, like with Paul, we do see that to a certain extent. And Paul's he's not really that scared of him, and he's actually kind of shrewd. Paul's kind of shrewd as a person who doesn't really know that much about oil. He's done his research. He knows enough to kind of barter. And then later on, even after that, once, things have kind of gone south for Daniel a bit, and, people are constantly trying to step in and like take over from what he's done and take over his land and try to like kind of outsell him. You get that that nice sequence where he's in the bar making that contract. He's talking to another, oil company representative. And he's basically, I will come to your house. And I will slit your throat.
Yeah, when he's talking the Standard Oils.
It's fucking great because like you start to see that barrier breaking down of like, he's kind of losing it. Like he, before that would have been an undertone where he would have been, callous, but it wouldn't have come out like that. But at this point, he's kind of lost that like good naturedness that he can put on as a facade, which is a really great menacing moment. The film has a lot of those, in terms of what we talked about as an anti-Western. Some of those like one-on-one scenes are really good, like almost like Western style standoffs, but in more dialogue than actual, gunslinging. It's great. So once Daniel rolls into this little Boston, obviously.
For the greatest, this is one of my favorite lines that's always stuck with me. Oh, what are you doing here? We're out here hunting quail. My boy and I, we're hunting quail. This is my son, H.W., and we're going hunting quail. If that's okay. Oh, do you have anything to drink? We'll get you water. Would you like goat's milk? That'd be delightful.
That's your favorite scene, is just the goat's milk?
No, it's not my favorite scene, but it's one that's always stuck with me. It's like, what are you doing here? We're out here hunting quail. Do you have anything to drink? We have water. We also have goat's milk. That'll do. Do you have any bread? We only have potatoes. We're sorry.
What do you think about that? How they greet them, because like they're so upstanding. Him coming onto their property, he's like, "Yeah, I'm hunting quail. Like, heard this is a good place," and they're like, "Yep, you can stay. You can hunt your quail here." And then they like proceed to go and fetch literally everything. I think it's meant to be like the religious element.
Hold on. Abel doesn't do shit. He has his daughter. Yells at her twice.
Fill up the pail.
Get the water. Get the milk. We'll help you make a fire. No, it won't be necessary. Teaching my son, HW, how to make a fire while we hunt quail. Like, it's funny. It's just great how he says hunting quail, because it's like wink, wink. Like, yes, we're not really hunting quail. We're out here, to scout for, places, if it's, good to drill.
Mm-hmm.
Because your son sold you out.
Yeah,
and I do love too the poetry and rhyming of that. This family of religious folk that their last, and as we find out with Eli, being a preacher and starting his own church of the Third Revelation, that their last name is Sunday. That's great.
Absolutely. Yeah. I love when they come upon the house there, and because it is such a like kind of an awkward scene, especially as they, they're very inviting, because it's like that sort of religious element of, help the stranger. So they do live it, and you kind of see how they're living as well, which is as a stark contrast to, what would be industrialized in this area. So
they're John Marston picking rocks for their farming.
Yeah, right.
What do you guys farm up there at Beecher's Hope? Boulders.
Nothing. Can't grow shit here. Yeah, it's like it all sets in a nice element in motion, and then eventually they do build the derrick here, and it's at kind of at odds with some of what has gone on in the town, but most people do want this because how can you pass it up? You can't grow shit here in this town. It's all desert, barren land, and so what are you going to do? You're going to capitalize on the money that these rich folk, or how it seems rich folk, are bringing in. And ultimately, Eli gets his church built. The one that he, a church that he really wants to build and has been meaning to build. He gets the money to build the church. And so, it kind of sets into the movie these religious themes of religion versus capitalism, of money, like, and how they kind of go together. And the charlatan elements to both men are kind of put on display as foils for each other, because they have similarities that they don't like about each other. And that's kind of a through line that will happen throughout There Will Be Blood is, how are these guys similar, even though they have very different like worldviews. Obviously Daniel even says to Paul at one point, because he asked him about his faith, he's like, what's your faith? And he's like, I like all faiths. I'm a fan. I don't subscribe to any one faith, but I like them all. And
but I would say that's also great because of the dichotomy there. It's literally yin and yang, but it's also the same too, because like as we see throughout the film, like Daniel is willing to use the church and religion as a self, like he projects himself as like a family man, a religious man. We'll do this for God, and he doesn't give a shit. And it's the same thing too when we see with Eli in the church, like he espouses these religious prophecies and ideas, but at the same time he is a sinner and falling for the same trappings of capitalism himself. So it's just great because, like, again, like it's great when they're talking about when, like, as you're talking about how Little Boston is, this podunk, nothing grows here now. When he buys and leases up all the land in the area, he basically makes a company town out of it. And he's like, I got my men here, and my men here, they're more than just men, because we are a family business. This is my son here, HW. We encourage the men to bring their families here, because this is a family. Families, and that keeps the men happy. With families being here, the kids being here, that means we need schools, because education is very important. And I believe that everybody, should have an education, and it shouldn't be. It's the same thing. Let's talk about bread. I think it's dishonorable that a family can't have a loaf of bread. So with the drilling, we'll start drilling wells, which means irrigation, which means you can grow all the grain that you want. Crops will grow here that you have never been able to grow before. You will be able to have. Mm-hmm. And that means roads and improvements. And then Eli goes, will there be a road to the church? He's like, that's right, Eli. There will be a road. That'll be the first road built. He says that to quell him, and he's like, anything else? Okay. And then he leaves. So again, like he's using that spirituality as a means to huckster, and sell what he's, the drilling that he's doing. Yeah. And it's just great. Cause again, like it's the, even though they seem like they're two different people with two different things, they go hand in hand. They're both, the same people.
I mean,
it's awesome.
Paul Dano is really good at this role. I mean, in a very punchable, very dislikable manner. Cause I do think Eli as a person in this movie really sucks and is probably, he may be a little bit more, maybe not even maybe, he's more unlikable than Daniel in a lot of situations. Especially like kind of the one scene that you really get, there's two, but one scene that stands out in particular is when he's at home after he's just been thrown in the mud and, Daniel's basically made a fool of him, embarrassed him in front of everybody, beat him up.
Slapped him, beat him up.
Yeah,
slapped him.
Slapped him silly.
Slapped him around in the mud, just bitch slapped him over and over again. Like, I'll leave you in the mud. I will leave you in the mud, Eli.
But that stands out when he gets home and he's just sitting there and he's still all mud, just sitting at the dinner table, is staring at Abel, and he's basically like, "You're a stupid man, Abel." Because you get that dichotomy again, like you said, of he's a religious man, but here he is just absolutely berating his father, kind of like with murderous intent here.
Well, not only that, too. I mean, you could say the same thing about Abel, too, because Abel also, we know, isn't a good person because he beats his daughters. And that's, and another thing that, like, I mean, it's good because HW is friendly and keen on Mary, one of Abel's daughters. And she's the one that says that she's been beaten. But after the derrick's being built and they're having, like, their big picnic, to celebrate, and he's sitting by Abel, and as Mary's running around, she's got a brand new dress on. He just grabs her, and Daniel goes, "How do you like your dress?" She's like, and she's kind of, she's scared, and he's like, "Yeah, it's good. You like your dress. It's good. You'll have more things about that." And the hitting stopped, hasn't it, Abel? Hasn't it? And like looking at him, like, that's right, no more hitting.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like he's doing it out of the kindness of his heart.
Sure.
He's doing it for HW, but also at the same time, too, it's also a power play for him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's getting off on the fact that, he's, superior to Abel, that he, this is his daughter, and he's like, no more, that he's taking charge,
He's taking over basically the whole town.
Yeah.
The other great scene with Paul Dano where you're like, I hate this guy, is when he's, when they're in that, the pre-built church. There's the church isn't, the full church hasn't been built yet, and there's an older lady, and he's like, you've been struggling with the arthritis, haven't you?
I just love that he says that like that.
The arthritis.
Not arthritis. The arthritis in your head.
Yeah, and he does his whole, fake, I'm driving out the devil.
The ghost in this one.
Yeah,
he's like, "Ghost, be gone."
It's great because it Paul Dano does a great job, and it also makes the viewer laugh because it's ridiculous, but at the same time, it's, you know, if you've ever seen any like televangelism, you know,
it's very Reverend Peter Popoff bullshit. Like, take my spirit water and your bills will be paid. Come on, give me $200, and I swear the spirit water will make you walk again, even though your legs have been blown off. You know,
yeah,
it's great. It's great, like charlatanism, and it's great too because the best part about that whole scene is at the end, because Daniel was sitting in the church watching, and you know, he's talking to Eli about it, and he's like, "What the hell was that?" Like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "What was that?" And he's like, "I'm healing these people." He goes, "Well, that was a goddamn good show you just put on there." And, you know, walks off like it's great, and you know, it's like like I said, it's fantastic. I love it.
So, you know, obviously, leading up to the whole idea that this, you know, Daniel will eventually become an oil tycoon. You know, there's a lot of strife that goes into that as well. And, you know, that's part of the title, There Will Be Blood, of, you know, blood, sweat, and tears, basically, but also the literal sense of there will be blood. Eventually, he does, you know, meet up with who's a guy who says he's his brother, Henry, and they have some business dealings with each other. And eventually, Daniel finds out, like, this guy's probably not my brother. You know, he's probably just saying that. And it kind of is interesting because it all comes about because he asked him for money. And he's like, I want to give
no
money.
No. What sets him off is when they're at the beach and he's just kind of sitting there, and he's like, when Henry's like, "We should get women and liquor." And then, you know, and then Daniel says, "Just like at the Peachtree, whatever, huh?" And then he doesn't say anything. He's like, "Just like at the Peachtree, huh?" And that's when he's like, hey, he doesn't remember, you know.
Yeah.
And that's just great because he just like stares, and then he goes into the ocean, and he's like got this, you know, the murderous intent of like, this isn't my fucking brother.
Yeah, it's kind of where that, you know, all the murderous intent really like, where we really start to see that come out, where the blood itself is really coming out. I think they do a really good job of setting that up where, again, the movie is not like overtly violent or disturbing, but it has these moments of, you know, areas where you see the depths that Daniel will go to do what he wants to do and be the best. And you start to see that breakdown of, you know, the family man that he kind of thinks he is and who he truly is, or where, you know, what this kind of lifestyle is leading him to. And that's pretty evident too, when, you know, after HW gets blown up in the derrick fire, blown off the roof and loses his hearing. And eventually Danny's like, "Nope, I've been dealing with this fucking shit for too long. You're going somewhere," and just fucking puts him on a train and jumps off the train and ferries him on his way. It's a, you know, and that's set up too when, you know, basically he goes back to the derrick after he gets his ears blown off. Like, he's like, you know what? He can't hear right now. But he goes back and he's like, "You're trying to put the fire out." And he's laughing about it. And he's like, "What, you know, what are you laughing? Why are you looking so depressed? Look at this money make down there." You know?
He's like, "It's oil.
Look at all this oil that we got. There's an ocean of oil underneath us." And the other guy asked him, like, wow,
Fletcher,
is HW okay? He's like, "No, he's not." It's just very matter of factly, "No, he's not."
It's kind of Wes Anderson-y. You could play like cue up to like, like, you know, like nice Mark Mothersbaugh score. But it is great because, like, you know, as you know, the rig's, you know, on fire and they're watching it and they're seeing the money that they're about to make, and he's like, "You're right." And he's like, "HW, how's HW? Is he okay?" "No, he's not."
Yeah.
And then Fletcher runs off the deal with him, and then he's just sitting there looking at it like, you know.
All through the night, just staring at it like, whew, you know, dollar signs in his eyes. Like,
but to be fair,
character.
But to be fair, though, I mean, if there's what would take priority? You know, seeing what's wrong with your son, or letting the whole town burn down because the Derek's up and
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I like that though because it really sets in motion. Like, you know, you're starting to see that element to him. He's not such a family man, and you know, obviously, we know the kid is not his. Truly, it's not his kid. He's taken over and kind of helped out. But
do you think that Daniel ever really had emotions for HW, or do you think?
No, I mean, I think that the film is pretty clear that he does. He does have emotions for HW as a kid that he's raised. I do think that he does, and I think that's part of the element of There Will Be Blood, of like that capitalism, that drive for capitalism. He, in his mind, he was at one point a family man, a guy who was trying to do his best, raise HW as his own, and eventually what that did, you know, that drive for capitalism to be the best, to be the one that was going to be, you know, the big oil tycoon, ruined him. Even though at the end of because at the end of the movie, we get to see like, oh, look at the fucking mansion he's living in. You know, it's 1920 something,
1927.
Yeah, 1927. He's living in a big fucking mansion. And what is he doing? He's like shooting shit in his mansion, you know, basically like running it down. He's got 2 fucking bowling alleys and he's miserable as all hell and doesn't see his son anymore.
Just drunk as shit.
Yeah. And he doesn't see his son anymore. And it kind of shows that, you know, yeah, he succeeded, right? He became the big oil tycoon. He's got all this money. He's got the, you know, the nice house. And yet he lost everything else that really, first of all, really made him kind of go for this goal, which I think is really great, especially considering the fact that, like, we do see that encounter between him and HW later on, who's HW is very happy now. He's getting married to Mary. He's going to be moving because he's also kind of taken over the business and he's starting his own business. And all, you know, Daniel can see his competition. He says, well, you're going to be my competition now. If you start a company like this, I'm not going to see it as, you know, like some, you know, good old fashioned, you know, family business. You're my direct competition. Which it's really funny because it's very different from where the movie started in terms of, you know, the motivations that we see from Daniel. So I do think the intention is that he really did care for HW and that just got in the way and just kind of ruined the rest of his life because of capitalism.
And becoming an embittered drunk.
Yeah, and that too.
With paranoia. But also, too, I think the film doesn't really... Because, again, we don't know Daniel's backstory. The film leaves a lot open to interpretation and to the imagination. I think, too, with the whole fact that because when Henry shows up, you know, as his long-lost half-brother, that happens right as, you know, HW, you know, has this traumatic experience where, you know, he loses his hearing through the oil rig derrick explosion. And with him sending HW off not that long after to a school in San Francisco, you know, for the deaf, we see him pretty readily, you know, take on Henry as a friend and a partner and, you know, discussing with him, you know, secrets and stuff and talking about, you know, their family and the, you know, stuff back in Wisconsin where they're from. It seems that, you know, from that, you know, those interactions and he's really longing for some type of family connection that, you know, he doesn't have and can't have and that he's kind of filling the void with. And so when he finds out that Henry is just a con man, he was a friend of Henry, when he died of tuberculosis, and he finds that out. That's why, you know, it tips him over the edge and he shoots him right in the face. Yeah. Yeah.
Not only that, but, you know, when he finds out that Henry is actually dead, he has that like whole, you know, the whole scene where he's sobbing, where he's reading through the diary and he's sobbing because, there's that element of like, I think he has two sides, especially at that point, right? Because he really did love HW, but he had to send him away because he felt like it was the only way for him to continue his business while still trying to help HW get the help that he needed. And then, like, because he can't keep chugging milk and vodka for whatever he's given.
Right, I think it was brandy. He's like, what, brandy? They go milk, like, drink up.
That's a painful scene too, to watch him drink that whole milk glass down.
Oh yeah, it takes a long time for him to tilt that back.
And actually, that brings up a good point too. The movie does a really great job of showcasing like really uncomfortable elements. Like for one thing, like it does a good job of showing like how miserable it probably was to be living in that desert, little Boston, because everybody's constant. When we first see those opening scenes, everybody's constantly sweating. Being bundled up in like a 4-piece suit, like you got your little hanky that they're always pulling out. Like even just walking into like the realtor's office, he's like pulling out a hanky because it's fucking sweaty as all hell. Seems like a miserable experience. The movie's really good at showing miserable experiences and like
the guys down the derrick holes with like their covers and their galoshes and everything, and then the bit dropping down, killing one of the workers. Like just like what happened to HW's father and Daniel back, a decade earlier. It's great. Yeah, no, you're right. It really shows like this is would not be a great place to live or a great time for it. Looks like hell on earth.
Yeah. The only thing that looks inviting is the pipe smoking, which I think Daniel Day-Lewis, does a great, it makes it look like a fun pastime.
And cigarette smoking looks great.
And the
decanters, I would say the decanters of whiskey just lying around.
Yeah. So he's, those vices always look really good in movies like this because everybody,
Not only that too, because we do know as time progresses on in the film, like Daniel's drinking does increase. Like, because again, like as the film goes on, we do see him get more flushed, more, like kind of that deep alcoholic sweat look to him. The film does a great job in getting that all across with literally just that and the short little scenes where you see him off to the side, like taking a nip from his, flask. Mm-hmm. So as we see him in because again, the film starts in 1898 and ends in 1929. The transition over those 30 years, you can see it.
Sure.
And it's not spelled out for you. They're these quick little things, but they're meaningful little background that's added to the film, And that's just another smart thing they do.
The encounter at the restaurant when HW is back with his dad, and when the other oil guys walk in, that is so cringy, uncomfy. For him to he quaffs his whiskey and then he puts a sheet over his head and like starts pretending like he's the other guy.
Not only that, they first, because it's great because you can tell like we don't see him already drinking before the scene, but when he's there talking to HW, you can tell he's a little drunk because he's like rubbing his head. He's like, "Oh my boy, you're good. It's so good to be back. Oh, my little business partner." Oh, he's like sweat, like got that alcoholic sweat. He's like, "I know, waiter, give me a whiskey, the boy a goat's milk, and 2 steaks. 2 of your steaks. Thank you. And then when the Standard Oil guy that walks in, that he had an incident with when they were trying to buy his leases out for $1 million, and he was insulted by the fact that they asked him how HW was doing because he took that as his manhood and authority and him as a father figure being challenged. He took that as a slight, as you were talking about. He mentioned like, I will find you in your sleep. I will cut your throat.
Mm-hmm.
So like after he runs into him, and they give the whiskeys to the Standard Oils guys first. He's like, I believe I ordered first, and then when he grabs and drinks, you say he puts on a show and he goes up to him like, who's the fool now? You feel pretty foolish, don't you? You're the fool.
It's so uncomfortable. It's really like, it's an awkward scene. It's it just gives you the heebie-jeebies to like be in that situation. And the guy, to be honest with you, the Standard Oil guy, he handles it very well. He's just kind of like, yes, I am I am. Yeah.
Well, he did too with the whole like when they had their first exchange, because like when he said that, he's like, Jesus Christ, Daniel, I didn't mean to offend you. He's like, I'm sorry. And then he's like, nope, I'm gonna build that goddamn pipeline and sell it to Union no matter what. Fuck you, and walks off.
I know. He's like,
why would you say that?
Why are you saying that? Just like very matter of factly. I love that guy, to be honest with you. Because he is because it does make Daniel paint him even in an even worse light. Because he's really been, as we've seen, really nothing but cordial. He like legitimately does seem like he cares about HW as his son, and like, well, I hope you get to spend some time with your son now. And I love too when he was, this is in the first scene when Daniel's like, if I sell to you, then what would I do? And he's like, I don't know what you would do. It's like, I don't know. Because you get that, again, you get that thing where he's searching for something because he doesn't have anything,
Yeah, he doesn't know what else to do with his life. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. So I think like that guy I don't even know what that character's name is, but
he's just the Standard Oil like representative.
Yeah, so like being in the scene with Daniel Day-Lewis.
Tilford. Tilford. Yeah.
It's just a great like encounter between them, because it just kind of accentuates those elements of Daniel that are, starting to break down. And then of course, at the end of the movie, after
before that.
Well, yeah.
Would you think of when Eli's kind of got Daniel by the balls? Because they got to get the bandy, he's got to buy the bandy track to get the pipeline through, because he can't just go around the mountains. And Bandy was
Don't
there.
Don't be thick in front of me.
Bandy was there and knows that he murdered, the con man, because he woke up the next morning and woke him up, and he knew that. He's like, oh, I'll sell it to you, but you need to find God. And he's like, why do I need God? And then he pulls hands on the pistol that he used, and he's like, oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then basically Eli gets to do what Daniel did to him in the mud pit and embarrass him in front of everybody and make him look like an ass.
Yeah, I mean, I like the scene. I think that, again, it kind of showcases that Daniel will do anything. He doesn't really have any like self morals. He will do this because it's got to be done. And even during that scene, you kind of can see him kind of laughing about it to himself as well, because it's
he's mentally bookmarking it as like he's Eli's putting a show on and being like, you're baptized in the blood of Christ. Like, yes, yeah. I'm baptized in the blood of Christ,
And not only that, but like you have him, he's slapping him around.
Yeah.
And he's like, yes, I can't feel it. I can't feel it. I can't feel the Lord. Yeah, you could tell like that's, to him, it's not the end of the their encounters with each other.
Yeah.
This is him taking a loss in the this particular battle,
losing the battle to win the war. Yeah, but it's great though, because it's just like you can see like how you just fed up and annoyed with the nonsense. But at times though, when he's when Eli's making him say that he sinned. And, that part he's not genuine about, but when he says you need to say that you abandoned your son, and when he says it, he does say it,
Yes, like he means it. Yes, yeah.
Yes.
I abandoned my son. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I love that. And it sets up the final moments between Eli and Daniel when they eventually are, it's 1928. Daniel has now, become the mogul, but he's also exceedingly miserable and a drunk, basically laying on his bowling alley, drunk out of his mind, basically unrousable.
Drinking Everclear and eating the toughest steaks known to man. Just
I do love how he just goes to town housing those steaks.
Are you going to eat steak like that from now on? For the longest time, we always talked about Uncle Rico and that nice cut and sitting there standing up, but just barehanding it and like, because it's well done, So like, having to rip it like you're goddamn in the wilderness, It
looks, that's it. He just is absolutely tearing into that thing. Basically you got Eli coming in, and at first, he's like, I'm doing great. Things are going really well. Been on the radio. You kind of, Daniel seems like he does know a little bit more to that, because he's just kind of like sitting there like, oh yeah, nice. That's great to hear. And then you get the whole backstory of what happened with Eli. Everything's kind of a sham. He is out of money, made some poor investments.
Is there because the stock market? He's like, and the Lord, why won't the best part is like, why doesn't the Lord give you the answer to these questions? and why must the Lord always, throw trials my way? Like, it's so, it's great because it's just, it's the dismantling, the total dismantling of Eli's morals and beliefs and core. And again, like, you have that. Part of it that he's blown through the church's money, that he needs money, that the money that he was supposed to be, using for the church, he's put into investments. Because again, we get to see, him dressed up for the 20s. He's as a preacher, he's pretty styling and profiling with his, big silver cross and his clothes and his hair. And also too, when he's like talking about how he sinned, I think also too, maybe I'm very, reading into it, but I think too, with the whole, when he's talking about, the Bandy's and Bandy's, grandson, inheriting the Bandy track that Daniel never bought, and that he could sell it, but, Bandy wants to come into Hollywood. He could be great in movies because he's very handsome. I think, it's a very, it's a thinly veiled, like, reference to that, Eli also might be gay. That's another way how he's, sinned. Mm-hmm. Again, very thin. I could very well be reading too much into it or not. But again, it's something that's there. And it's also, another nice little layer to it. And it's great watching, Daniel use Eli's weakness and moment of, being, falling apart, that, Daniel makes him say you're a false prophet, and that, God doesn't exist, and makes him say it over and over again. He's like, oh yeah, I already drilled under there.
Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting concept, because basically it is the alternative of Daniel selling himself out, right? Like he sold himself out. It basically got baptized because it was what was necessary for him to do what he needed to do. And in this case, I would argue that it's it's a little bit worse for Eli, because it does show how little he actually respects his, what he's kind of devoted his life to. But it does paint them in the same picture, that they both have been corrupted by capitalism to some extent, whether it be religion that they've devoted their life to, or whether it be, the search for oil to be the best oil baron around. It doesn't really matter. They both kind of are able to just throw their morals to the wind, have very little self-respect for themselves, if it, for what they believe in. And you get that just comparison between the two, that they, while they don't like each other, while they think they're very different, they are very much the same, and kind of the American way of religion and capitalism.
Not only religion, I would say more specifically prosperity gospelism, evangelism. You could definitely say it's more of the critique, because what is the prosperity gospel but fucking capitalism in religious form? Again, like the whole idea of this God will bless you with $1 billion if you, just put $1 in the box. It's I think in a sense, again, they're both cretinous, terrible human beings. So again, Daniel actually kills 2 people in this movie, where Eli, we don't see, does. But again, I would say Daniel is the more tolerable person because, again, he is amoral. He's totally moralist. He's there to, make money and do what's best for him. There's only one person he's looking out for, and that's him. Eli, being the prosperity gospel preacher, wraps it up in morality that, makes, I think, philosophically him more of a cretinous person because his lie is greater in the fact that he's selling you morals and salvation, where at least, even though Daniel does too, again, like with the whole building a derrick, we'll build a school and roads and all this great stuff. At least though, if there's money there, the money's there, and they'll be a part of it. They're not going to get nearly as big as a cut as he's going to get, but at least that's tangible. The salvation that Eli sells is not tangible. That's more of a lie,
right?
I think.
Yeah,
they're both lies, but I think that's the bigger lie, though.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we haven't even talked about the actual, pop culture reference that everybody picked up on from this movie.
No, we already did. It was the quail hunting.
Yeah, right. If they talked about anything back in 2007, it was, I drink your milkshake. And it's kind of funny because, everybody took that from this movie and they kind of used it, but it's not really meant to be, it's not a good thing in this movie that, he's saying these words. It's basically it's the culmination of capitalism, right? I will suck you dry for my own benefit, for my own gain, without you even knowing it. And it kind of sums up the whole idea of, not just the oil, the oil itself in this context, but capitalism and how it sucked up both of them to some extent and spit them out and left these husks of men that they are. Which is kind of, it's a great metaphor that is used, and it's used in such a way that, it's obviously meant to be, Daniel winning, right? Because Daniel technically wins this match. He gets the best of Eli, then murders him. But he gets
a bowling pin.
Yeah, but he gets the best of him, and technically wins. But that the ending where it just ends with him saying, "I'm done.
I'm finished."
Yeah, I'm finished. It's
and then that glorious music playing. But it's great. Again, it's beautiful. And I loved too when he's whipping the bowling balls down, as you mentioned too before the podcast, whipping them down the lanes, and they hit one either hits that bottle of water, whiskey or whatever, and it just shoots right across into the camera, which you could tell that wasn't probably intentional. Daniel Day-Lewis just sitting there heave-hoing the bowling balls down the alley. They just
they were use it.
Yeah, that looks great.
Yeah, because it is a perfect shot of the pot flipping around and the water hitting the camera. It's great. I mean, it's a really great. So one thing I wanted to bring up though is that I did, I read some reviews of people that didn't like this movie or said they didn't like it. One of their main complaints was that it doesn't say anything new, right? It doesn't say, capitalism bad is what you can boil it down to, and it doesn't say anything new. So how do you feel about that as a critique of the movie? Is it too simple in the way that it presents its themes, or?
No, because it's boiled down to a great character study. Capitalism bad, but we get to see literally two protagonists and antagonists, their souls literally be rotted to the core. Again, we say at the end, Daniel won. Daniel didn't win in the end. He's a hollow, lonely man going to be having to pay off the police for another murder. And his son literally just left him because when he said he was going to start another business up and he wanted to go on his own, he told him he was a bastard in a basket. And that, he didn't come from him, and he's, not his, he's not his family. He's in his competition now. So no, is like the parable simple? Yes. But again, it's such a great character study in watching, the souls of men being devoured into hell is what makes this film great. You don't have to have like this overly detailed, motif going on for it to be a great film when it's wrapped up in this amazing masterpiece of acting, cinematography, and everything. So
yeah, and I definitely I agree with that too. I think that we have all kinds of examples of parables that are simple, of what they the actual themes that they say, but they are complicated in the way that it makes you think about them. And I think that that's true of There Will Be Blood. It doesn't need to have a like winding theme going on at its core to be effective. And the way that it's effective is because it shows the actual devolution of people wrapped up in capitalism, where it doesn't need to, it doesn't need to be like explicitly showing us like, oh, look at all these towns in ruin, or anything like that. It literally shows like the ruin of these two individuals.
Not only that, as you said before the show too, like that it's also great. Like they didn't show like Daniel becoming like, there wasn't like a Scarface moment of like push it to the limit,
right?
Limit of him, like like the money just printing and like watching hit like the wealth build up and stuff. We watch him, get to a certain point and then bam, here's the future, and he's a fucking millionaire now. Like it's not what the film's focused on too. And also too, I think people who are bitching about that the morals too simple is somebody who just doesn't like, oh, you're critiquing capitalism? How dare you? It's the only thing we got.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I agree. I definitely don't think it's not really worthwhile to compare it as like, oh, its theme is just can be boiled down to a simple statement, because I think at the end of the day, Daniel Day-Lewis puts in a hell of a performance here. Paul Dano does a really great job as well. But honestly, Daniel Day-Lewis is the reason to watch this movie, hands down. He just captivating entirely when he's on screen. So it's not just one reason why you watch a movie, right? You don't just watch it like to come down at the end of the day, just be like, well, I like the theme, I like the movie. There's a lot of reasons why you would watch a movie. So I definitely disagree as well. I think Ed does a really great job.
Usually if there's a good theme and the film's dog shit, you're like, not like, well, the film was dog shit, but at least the moral at the end was,
yeah, I came away respecting it. Yeah. Yeah. So I disagree. I think it's, it's a really great movie, regardless of whether its theme is like, can be boiled down to being simple. So real quick, before we give this movie a rating, what would you say about the score that was done by Radiohead's Johnny Greenwood?
It's good. The film does have a good score. It's definitely minimalistic and used in the right moments, because again, the film does let the ambiance and sound of a scene really kind of play out. But when it's there, the score definitely has like a nice, like tense, brooding kind of sense of kind of a dread looming about, kind of like Jaws, like with the theme, like sometimes where it's like kind of just like
mm-hmm. That one scene where Henry and Daniel are in the woods doing their little measurements and stuff for the drilling.
Land survey. Yeah. Land survey.
That little clicky staccato rhythm that it's got going on is great because it's like all over the place where you can't really pick out like an individual like rhythm to it.
It also goes great too because they were hammering in the stakes for like that marking the land. So like I
like that one a lot. Like, but I think that they do a really good job with showcasing, kind of like the grimness of it all throughout. Like I said at the beginning of the movie, you know what you're getting into. It's going to be kind of a dark, brooding film at the end because of the way that it's kind of set out. Like even the shots of like the noose kind of being drawn up, going to make the derrick. It's great. You know what you're getting into. There will be blood. All right, so we got to rate There Will Be Blood. So on a scale of 0 to 10 goat's milk, there's a lot of goat's milk in this movie.
Yes, there is.
It's a lot. Which I don't think I've ever had in its entirety as like a actual glass of goat's milk.
The almond milk of the day.
Yeah,
one would say.
Apparently so. It's all over the place. What would you give There Will Be Blood?
I'll give it 10 out of 10.
Ooh.
This literally is one of my favorite films of all time. I love this film. I think it's great. I think close to 20 years later, it's still a standout, amazing film. It still works really well. Film's 2 hours and 40 minutes long. Doesn't feel like it at all. I don't know I know you were watching it like in between some stuff, but like, did you feel the 3 hours of it?
No, it doesn't feel like it.
So, I mean, it's it's just a great movie. Daniel Day-Lewis is amazing in this. Fucking great. Probably my favorite performance by him. Paul Dano is fucking great in this. Such a cretinous little shithead. Paul F. Tompkins sitting in the corner got like 5th billing. Great job out of Paul F. Tompkins. But no, I mean, it's just a great movie. Watching, the souls of men be rotted away and, sold off to hell in different ways, all in the name of $1, wrapped up in a beautiful period piece of it. Something just went falling down at your house.
I think it was pots and pans that my wife is putting away. Yeah.
But yeah. I mean, just watching, the souls of these men be corrupted by the dollar, and it's just told incredibly beautifully. It's just an amazingly well done film. 10 out of 10. It's one of my favorite films of all time, and it still holds up to this day. So I cannot praise it enough, and I can't recommend it enough.
Yeah, I would give this a 9 out of 10. I really, really liked it. I thought it was a great movie. I definitely wasn't expecting to enjoy it as much as I did. I think it's really captivating, and I think that says a lot about Paul Thomas Anderson's direction and writing here. But not only that, Daniel Day-Lewis, for sure, is amazing in this movie. It's really hard to discount what he brings to it. Replace Daniel Day-Lewis with another actor, I don't know if it would have been as good. Really hard to imagine that occurring. So, it's hard to discount how much goes into this movie. And I don't even know if we've really done the discussion of it justice to talk about everything that, kind of goes on, that leads to the ending of the conclusion. But, I think everything that goes into this, the detail, the sound, the music, it's all very well done. And I think I said, earlier to Martin that this movie, it's 17 years old, but it feels like it could have been made yesterday because there's a timelessness to it that doesn't really always come out in movies. This one has it's a period piece, right? So it has that kind of going for it, but it has a timelessness of filmmaking that I think, makes it even that much better when you're watching it because it doesn't really stand out to you like any anachronism or sense of, unrealness about it. It's very consistent in the way that it portrays everything. And it's just an amazing movie watching experience that I think everyone should experience. It's definitely, if you haven't seen it, if you waited 17 years like me, rectify that and check it out.
What are you doing? Yeah, like I would say, like it's kind of like got like a 1960s like classic style, classic like film, dedication to it. Like you like how kind of like watching today, like Lawrence of Arabia will feel timeless just because of the attention to detail constantly, like that kind of like epic feel to the film. Yeah. But yeah, no, this, like I said, it's a great film.
Yeah. Very, very glad I watched it. So, all right. So what are we doing? What do we do next time?
I don't know. What do you want to do next time?
I don't know. I don't know if we've really decided yet.
Were you serious about the next one or no?
No, I wasn't serious about doing that. But yeah, I mean, I think we're going to take a break for a week and then come back, and I'm sure.
Did we run out of Valentine's Day themed horror films?
I don't know. I might be able to come up with a few.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
Yeah, now you wish you hadn't said that, don't you? No, I mean, I don't really have anything specific in mind, but I think,
does Lacey Chabert have a argument?
Not another through line of Lacey Chabert stuff. Yeah, I don't know. We'll check it out and see what we can do. I'm sure there's some stuff on here that we can. I have every now and then like things come to me that I want to do, and then I forget to like write it down. So then
I wish you did, because that way we wouldn't end up doing fucking Django cast.
I know. I should write him down, right? Yeah. So I don't know. We'll take a look and see what we want to do for the next one. But I'm sure whatever we pick, it's gonna be fun. So
with the new year, new us, are we hopping back in the comic book train?
I think that train has passed. I don't. Like it would be hard again. It's now it's almost like thinking about like actually reading comics in starting something that's then been going on for years. It's like how do you get back into it? So I don't know, maybe, but I was kidding about that because I was talking about Zack Snyder's Star Wars ripoff movie. I don't know if I want to subject myself to that either. 3 hours long.
I think I'm Zack Snyder filmed out.
We've only done like 3, but we're.
If I hear one more asshole be like, "Come on, man, his Justice League in 7 hours is good now." Stop yourself. You're one of those people. Stop yourself.
Yeah.
Is it time that we finally revisit Wonder Woman 1984?
No.
Oh my God, I can't believe that's 4. I can't believe that's 4 years ago.
Yeah, 4 years ago. It's still too soon to rewatch that movie. Still too soon. Yeah. I don't know if I want to
Rebel Moon. Oh, that's the thing.
Yeah, Rebel Moon. Yeah, the basic Star Wars ripoff.
Are you ready for Dune? We can do like.
I didn't see the first Dune Volume 1 or whatever it was, Dune Part 1. Didn't watch it.
Wow, you're right. It is Star Wars Part 2 because Sophia Boutella stars in it, and she was the lady in Han.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Han. I don't know. I'm so Star Warsed out too.
All right. Well, we'll figure something out. So, thanks for listening.
Oh. We always do.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed our episode on There Will Be Blood. Subscribe to us. Leave us a nice review on pretty much any podcast app you could think of. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever you use. Subscribe to us. Leave us a nice review. It always helps us out. We're on Facebook and Twitter. Search for us on there, Blood and Black Rum Podcast. We have an email address at bloodandblackrumpodcast@gmail.com where you can write to us. Let us know what you like, what you don't like, what movies you want us to consider. And you can always donate to us on our Patreon page at patreon.com/bloodandblackrumpodcast or on our Spotify page. Anything you donate will go back towards beer, so we appreciate that in advance. Hopefully tune in for our next episode. Should be back in 2 weeks. And we hope you enjoyed this one. So until then,
take care.